What's going on, guys? Welcome to the Rec Nation. Guys, this is going to be the disclaimer video that I put in front of sensitive type material. You'll see this video pop up probably a lot on this channel. So I'm just making one video. The content that we're about to watch contains sensitive material. So this is your last chance. I implore you, if you are sensitive to seeing stuff, right? Of the graphic nature, possibly disturbing images, click away now. And yeah, just saying, this is the warning. This is all I'm giving you. I had to click through the sensitive ad or sensitive content button on YouTube, so I'm giving you that opportunity right now to click away. Okay? All right, guys. Enjoy the content. Later.
I'm unbreakable, untouchable, unstoppable.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Rec Nation. Guys, we are finally getting to the SAS Iranian embassy siege documentary, Operation Nimrod. Guys, we've checked out like the animated version, and overwhelmingly you guys came out and said you got to check out the real footage, and I told you guys I would. What happens in our journey here on this channel, it's like I'm torn between briefly touching on like some historical moments, and in the shorter videos, a lot of times, at least what I've seen on YouTube, is that they're like animated versions. But each of these things that we've checked out have kind of sort of like real life footage or a documentary, which is usually a longer form content. So let's see if this goes up. Okay, let's see if this goes up on YouTube. If not, guys, you're missing out if you're not on our Rumble channel. That is where we are going to be putting blocked content, or if I have to edit content to get onto YouTube. So anyway, guys, without any further ado, let's check this out. Ready? 3, 2, 1, let's go.
Early morning, and it's another routine day for PC Trevor Locke. He's off to work, diplomatic protection duty at the Iranian embassy on the edge of Hyde Park. He doesn't know that others are also heading for the embassy that morning with guns and grenades. At 11:30, PC Locke is having a coffee with the concierge inside the front door when his world is turned upside down. The gunmen attack.
He pulled out a machine pistol and pointed it at me. And I looked up and there were 3 more guys similarly dressed to him, and the guy in the middle was let off a blat of gunfire. I remember the gun going off very close. I fell back. I thought I'd been shot. In minutes, I literally mean within minutes, they'd secured the building.
Earlier that morning, 2 BBC staff had left for the Iranian embassy to chase up visas. They're Sim Harris, a sound recordist, and Chris Kramer, a news producer. Both are waiting in the embassy when they're attacked.
The terrorists were screaming at us, you know, put your hands up, you know, put your hands against the wall.
This little tiny Arabic-looking guy with a keffir on and kind of little bulgy eyes starts to hop around the room with a pistol and with this sort of bright green hand grenade in one hand, which has certainly got my attention. The habit of taking the pin from the grenade and then putting it back in the grenade, and then taking the pin out and putting it back in again. And this is, you know, a nervous tick, but it's an explosive nervous tick. I don't like it at all.
Oh no, sorry guys. That's like playing with grenades. No way, man. unhinged. Well, you got to be unhinged. You got to be unhinged to siege an embassy, right? Oh my God.
Radio 1 Newsbeat.
An armed man has forced a policeman on duty outside the Iranian embassy in London to go inside the building. He's now said to be being held at gunpoint.
Armed police wearing bulletproof vests have surrounded the embassy building and ambulances are on hand.
In fact, inside the embassy, 6 armed men have taken 26 people hostage, the majority Iranian diplomatic staff, 6 of them women. C-13 Scotland Yard's anti-terrorist squad moves in next door. John Dello takes overall command. 135 miles away, in Hereford, the SAS, the Army's military elite, are getting ready for a routine anti-terrorist exercise. 3 members of its top-secret counter-terrorist team are Tom, a sniper, SAS veteran Mac, who's an assault specialist, and Trooper Robin Horsefall, a karate expert.
One of my friends, Bob, came across to me, one of the sniper team, and he said, hey, there's an operation going on in London. Apparently, the Iranian embassy's just been hijacked by some terrorists.
I was going to camp early, get a cup of tea and have a chat as normal. They bumped into one of the lads and they said the exercise is off, and I thought, oh great, because I mean, to do the exercise meant working the weekend. And you know, nobody likes to work a weekend, you like a few days off, and I thought, oh great. And they said, it's for real. And I went, yeah, of course it is, bollocks, you know. I just walked away.
We're on pages on different states of readiness, and I was on what we termed first team at the time, and I was called out, so we had a fairly instant reaction time into our camp, and from there we were briefed very quickly, and we were gone from the camp very, very quickly.
Back inside the embassy, the gunmen search the hostages. PC Locke has a revolver concealed beneath his police uniform.
I thought to myself, do I use the gun? These were things were flooding through my head. Do I do the John Wayne bit? Do I start blatting everybody in sight? The old adrenaline was racing, very nervous. It was more a gesture than a search. And then he told me to follow the rest. So there I was, walking up the stairs to the other rooms with the rest, still in uniform, 6 rounds in my pocket, and a gun on my hip, fully loaded.
Now, this is an interesting fact. I think they might have touched on that, but 12 rounds out of a revolver, you know, that's not a lot. Is it enough? I guess if you're like Deadpool, you know what I mean? Like, but if you're not expecting this, and like once you hear me out on this, if you were to engage the enemy and unalive one, everyone else is coming down on you, and you're endangering the lives immediately of the other hostages. Immediately. So that's a tough call. That's a big responsibility. You're just like, that's a one-way trip for whoever's in the room. Kind of. It's like, here we are. I'm going to pull this thing out. I want to use it. And I know the end result. I either get all of them or I'm not walking out of here. You know? And I don't know what the training is. I'm pretty sure he had to have a lot of training to be able to carry a firearm in that regard. So this is pretty intense. Like, you have a guy that's basically pulling the pin in and out of a grenade, right? Just as a tick who's obviously high on an adrenaline rush, and you hope if you have to delete him, hopefully he put that pin back in the grenade. There's that guy. There's that unhinged guy with the grenade in the embassy. So, dude, oh man, that's terrifying. That's terrifying. In that situation, what would you have done with with a handgun. I mean, realistically, because that's not even a handgun, a revolver. That's because you start thinking like you have a tool to potentially get yourself out of a situation and become a hero. At the same time, your time in the sun could fade very quickly, and usually plans go south immediately. So,
with a major terrorist incident in the heart of London, the government machine swings into action. By early afternoon, ministers and officials are gathered in the government's crisis centre in Whitehall, known as Cobra, the Cabinet Office briefing room. The minutes are ticking away. No one knows who the gunmen are or what they want.
Quite soon into this incident, they produce these bits of paper, and it's a ramble. It's a ramble about a part of Iran I've never even heard of and don't really care about. And it defines their objectives, and their objectives are muddy. You know, they want independence for this part of Iran I've never heard of. They may have seized this building in the centre of London, but this is not the way that you should go about these objectives. It's really it's amateurish.
The gunmen are from a region in southern Iran that they call Arabistan. They want autonomy for the area. By mid-afternoon, the outside world hears the voice of the gunman for the first time when a BBC newsman, amazingly, speaks directly to their leader.
Why have you taken hostages inside the embassy?
Because we had some demand to get what we want. The free of 91 prisoners.
You want 91 prisoners in Iran to be set free?
Yeah. You know, that's a group who are fighting for their legitimate rights, justice, and they are fighting for the autonomy for Arabistan.
Those running the Cabinet Office briefing room are bewildered. Richard Hasty-Smith is the government official in charge of Cobra.
Had you heard of Arabistan?
No.
Had you heard of the cause that the gunmen were espousing?
Not really. Not at all.
So you hadn't really much idea what it was all about?
None at all.
you have... I'm not laughing at the situation. This is a very dire situation. But like if you've taken an embassy hostage, right? If you've laid siege to an embassy, right? Let's say you've gone in there, guns drawn, all right? And you get on the phone and you're like, "We want autonomy for Arabistan." And the person's like, "What did he just say? Where the fuck is that?" Like, amateurish, right? Is that what he said? Yeah. I'm just saying, you got to... it's like they figured it out. I feel like maybe they didn't think that they were going to get that far, right? They're like, "We're going to do this." And they're like, "Oh, shit, it worked. Now what? Give me a name. Arabistan." Brilliant. What? I've never heard of Arabistan. Then again, I couldn't tell you. Arabistan. Never heard of it until right now.
The gunmen's demands are politically naive. It's inconceivable the British government would persuade Iran to release political prisoners. Diplomatic relations have been under strain for the past year, since Iran's Islamic Revolution swept Ayatollah Khomeini to power. For Prime Minister Margaret Thatcher, the siege is the first test of her uncompromising rhetoric on terrorism.
What was Mrs. Thatcher's line on the gunmen?
That there was no question of them walking away. None whatsoever. That it was just as simple as that.
It was that absolute?
Yes.
Why?
I think both intellectually and emotionally, she really had a horror of terrorists and absolute determination not to let them win.
As the hostages prepare for their first night in captivity, the gunmen are still demanding the release of their 91 jail comrades. But the news from Iran brings no hope of an early end to the siege.
Here in Tehran, they have decided not to release the 91 Arabs being held in Khuzestan, the oil-producing province. The Revolutionary Council spokesman, Dr. Habibi, said that Iran should not submit to the demands of the militants.
Under the cloak of darkness, the SAS silently slip into Regent's Park Barracks, just 3 miles away from the embassy. Operation Nimrod is about to begin. The gunmen and hostages awake to the news that the Iranian foreign minister has declared that the prisoners will not be released. The gunmen's response is chilling.
I think he will regret for this statement.
Can you go into details? What do you mean he will regret it?
I mean, after the deadline, we will kill everybody here, all the hostages.
The gunmen set a deadline of 12 noon. Then the executions begin.
A crouching figure stumbled through the front door of the embassy, across the pavement and between the parked cars. For a few seconds, the policemen in the neighbouring doorways did not apparently register that it was one of the hostages, but it was one of the BBC newsmen, Chris Kramer, and he was obviously in pain.
I was escorted to an ambulance and they tried to put a mask on my face, and I said, I don't want that mask, I want to talk to someone now. Stop the ambulance, you know. There are gunmen in there with hand grenades and there are 6 of them, and I was terrified that they were going to storm the embassy, thinking there was maybe only 1 or 2. And I said, you know, you need to get word to the authorities that there are 6 extremely well-armed gunmen in there. And he stopped the ambulance and he jumped out.
Chris Kramer is safe in a hospital bed.
Wow. What?
We weren't going to go in unless anybody was killed, but as soon as somebody was killed, then it was highly likely that we would. That had come straight from Downing Street, as far as we knew. Margaret Thatcher's policy was, we do not negotiate with terrorists. And we'd already been given the nod that if anybody was killed, then she wasn't going to put up with it, that we were going to carry out an assault.
The deadline arrives. No shots, no explosions, no deaths. But the gunmen repeat their threats to kill their captives. The Metropolitan Police Commissioner makes a plea to the hostage-takers.
The gunmen inside the Iranian embassy must know that it is not within our power to meet all of their demands. I appeal to them to remain calm.
The SAS are now ordered to move within striking range of the gunmen. That night, they transfer their operational base to a building next door to the embassy.
Very, very covertly, we went in 2 big covered Pantechnicon lorries, and we would go to the back, clambered over walls, through windows and everything, get into number 15 next door to the embassy.
The next thing you had to do was do an immediate action. Immediate action being the assault plan, should everything go wrong right at this particular second now.
Basically, if the thing goes tits up, you know, if something went wrong, I mean, it could be anything, and it was decided from the hierarchy to say, right, okay, send in the boys. You've always got a set number of people ready to go in straight away.
In full kit?
They're all ready, full kit, tooled up the lot.
And what's the potential of those weapons?
Well, depends on your refinement. Human body, kill them.
Until we started getting information about the building, and the terrorists and the situation, there was very little for us to do. You could only sharpen a knife so much. The knife was already sharp. It was razor sharp. There was nothing left to do except wait for information.
As dawn breaks, the police are still short of precise intelligence about the situation inside the embassy. A field telephone is sent in. From now on, they can only communicate with the outside world through a team of police negotiators.
When you think about it, you have a number of hostage takers, they're armed, and they have hostages. They're in charge. Are they? They're isolated in a house. They can't communicate with anybody unless they communicate with the police. They can't even get cigarettes without asking for it. Everything they require has to be asked for. And over a period of time, it does have an effect on them. They aren't as in charge as they think they are.
The police play Mr. Nice Guy and send in provisions, but in fact they're secretly snatching photographs and collecting fingerprints to build up profiles of the gunmen. But their identities remain a mystery until the police ask the British Embassy in Baghdad to check recent visa applications. They're in luck. 6 forms are sent to London with 6 photographs. The leader of the group calls himself Salim.
These photographs turn up and it was like, these are the baddies. You look at a picture and you don't look at the whole face. You do, but you don't. You look for something that's distinguishing mark, you know. It was like the old boss man, I always remember him, to me he looked like a hawk.
There were many officers spent hours and hours looking into the backgrounds of these people for the days or the weeks before the event to try and find out who was controlling them. And from their activities, they had already bought presents to take home to their families. They'd been shopping in Harrods and other places, and some of those presents had actually been sent home. They were also, shall we say, wining and dining and enjoying the pleasures of ladies that they paid for.
The police also discover that there's a 7th member of the group. He's the mastermind, a mysterious Iraqi intelligence officer called Sami Mohammed Ali. His orders are to orchestrate an armed siege at the Iranian embassy in the heart of London. He's recruited and trained the gunmen in Baghdad. Once in England, he supplies guns and grenades and assures them that they'll return to Iraq as heroes. He then does a runner to Heathrow and flies out as the embassy is seized, leaving his comrades to their fate.
I don't think those that had organised them had told them the truth. The chances are that they would be holed up there and it would end up as a terrorist situation. Because they really thought they were going home within 24 hours, that we would capitulate, put them on aeroplanes and they'd be back in their own country. But the reality was they weren't going anywhere. And it took a long time for that to begin to dawn on them.
So the dude that masterminded this, he dipped out. He went back home. And these guys, the patsies, basically in charge of kicking the hornet's nest, are about to get stung. Pretty much. That's what it is.
As day 3 ends, the gunmen realise the only things going to Baghdad are their Harrods purchases. They've been abandoned by their minder Sami and by the Iraqi regime. With Mustafa to interpret, the gunmen allow PC Locke to negotiate with the police outside, a responsibility he accepts to lighten his sense of guilt.
Trevor was extremely bothered that, you know, in his view, he'd allowed it to happen. You know, he sort of said, I'm in for a right rollicking when we get out of here. I'm meant to protect this embassy. I said, well, you can't protect it from 6 armed men, Trevor, for God's sake. You know, I'm sure you did your best, but they were going to come in anyway.
As the world's media wait and watch, the hostages try to persuade the gunmen to give up and make an honourable surrender.
We told them, if it was publicity you want, the best idea for you is to decide to give up. You will get all the world media inside this embassy. At that moment, you make your decision. We decided to give ourselves up, and the hostages are free to go. Can you imagine what kind of victory your cause would have achieved if you do that? We reached that stage, talking to them, talking about graphic scenes, you know, what would happen if they decide to take this step. And of course, when we reached that moment, we felt hopeful.
Their arguments prove persuasive. The gunmen demand that the BBC should broadcast a statement about the Arabistani cause. Trevor and Mustafa plead with the police to make it happen. The hope is that after publicity for their cause, the gunmen will surrender. It's agreed the BBC will broadcast the statement at 9 p.m.
The statement of the group holding the hostages. We swear to God and to the British people and government that no danger whatsoever would be inflicted.
From the first word he uttered, everybody in the room, some of us were sitting, some of us were standing, some of them were, you know, outside the door, etc. Every single one of us started jumping, hugging each other, cheering, as if a victory happened.
We demand the 3 ambassadors, Algerian, Jordanian and Iraqi, to start their jobs in negotiating to secure the safety of the hostages and to terminate the whole operation peacefully.
The gunmen themselves come into the room, mingled among us and jump with us, and also cheering and kissing each other. Yes!
There's joy inside and relief outside. Perhaps the stalemate is broken. The police arrange for a takeaway, and for the first time in 4 days, gunmen and hostages enjoy a meal together. These photographs were taken by the gunmen using a camera belonging to a hostage. The camera was later found inside the embassy. The photos were intended as souvenirs of the gunmen's trip to London. They've never been shown before.
So you think it's all over?
Well, I think we're cruising then. They'd sent cigarettes in, not that I smoked, but they'd sent cigarettes in, they'd sent food in. Yeah, I thought, you know, slept quite well that night.
Good morning to you. It's 6:30. This is Richard Bourne, and welcome to another day's programmes on Radio London 206 and VHF. I'll be here with you on your...
On Sunday morning, the mood is optimistic and Salim is happy. The end of the siege may well be in sight.
Salim was contemplating giving up. There was something in his voice, because I'd said to him, look, come on, this can't go on. You cannot stay here for the rest of your life. There has to be an ending. You haven't hurt anybody. You haven't killed anybody. It's time to give up. I forget exactly what he said, but I had the feeling that he was probably going to... They were beginning to think that way.
Inside the embassy, one of the gunmen, flushed with the success of the broadcast, writes insulting slogans about Iran's leader, Ayatollah Khomeini.
I remember distinctly one of the slogans which said in Arabic, يسقط الشاه المعمم, down with the new Shah, quite offensive to the Islamic Revolution and to Khomeini himself.
Watching with fast burning anger is a young Iranian hostage called Abbas Lavasani. He's the embassy's press attaché and fervent disciple of the Islamic Revolution. Faisal is Salim's second in command. To the hostages, he's the toughest of the gunmen.
It suddenly went from this relaxed, how are we going to go home today, atmosphere, to the complete opposite. And he was absolutely throwing all this excitable verbal venom at Faisal. Faisal got very upset by what was being said, and he was going to shoot him.
He said, I'm ready to die, and he opened his shirt like this. You can kill me anytime, I'm ready to die. I'm a martyr for the revolution.
The SAS are updated on the gunmen's new belligerence. They bother not.
If you go near aggression straight off, you will put people off. Even though somebody could be stood there with a weapon pointing at you, but if you're running towards him, yeah, he will become frightened, yeah, because you're aggressive.
We were young, we were immortal, nobody could beat us. We were the best. We believed wholeheartedly that we were the best, and we knew that we were quite capable of dealing with any scenario that the terrorists thrust upon us.
Oh my God, that's crazy. So, oh man, remember their standing orders are, if any hostage dies, they spring into action. And they're just there waiting, planning, probably going over the plan time and time again. Their plan Bs, plan Cs, plan Ds. In their head, they're just, like he said, how many times can you sharpen a knife that's already sharp? You know what I mean? So, it must have felt like months. This time must have just crawled by.
The gunmen are becoming increasingly desperate. They're demanding that 3 Arab ambassadors should come to the embassy and negotiate safe passage out of the country. They've been assured by Sami, their minder, that they'll be able to leave Britain safely. The promise is a lie. Sami has set them up.
Yeah. What?
They believed that there would be named ambassadors that would ensure their safe exit from this country, and believed we were denying them. And so we did get to that point where it was almost inevitable that we could not carry on negotiating.
There's deadlock. Salim is reaching boiling point and blames the police for stalling the arrival of the ambassadors.
You can telephone that bloody bastard ambassadors why they take the time, why they kill the time. The Arab ambassadors... They want to talk about, they are going to planning for a war just for discussion. They can't send one of them here. We have nothing to say more. We will kill one at 6:25 minutes.
Salim.
Sim and Trevor plead for the ambassadors to come. They know they're their only lifeline. Salim's patience has run out. It's now a matter of life or death.
I heard bang, and then immediately after, followed by 2 more shots. There was bang, 2 more shots. And although I hadn't seen it, I'd heard a classic execution.
The shots are heard outside. Nobody knows if they're just a bluff. Lavasani's body lies in the hall of the embassy for nearly 6 hours. The shocking reality is finally revealed when his corpse is thrown from the embassy door. The The post-mortem shows that Lavasani has been shot twice in the head and once in the chest.
They've killed one now. What difference is it going to make if they kill 2 or 3? Now they've started to play those cards. Yeah, they've gone over the line, and there was no way they could go back because the man was dead. The only thing they could do then, if they wanted to save their lives, was put their hands up and walk out the door with them on top of their heads, really.
Salim said to me, "What will the police do now?" And I said, "I don't know. I've told you that as long as you didn't cause us any harm, you didn't injure anybody or kill anybody, they wouldn't attack." I said, "I've never lied to you. I don't know what they're going to do now. This has never happened in England before." I said, "The best thing you can do now is to give up. Is to go and give up now before it gets any worse."
Although they've shed blood, the gunmen still believe they can get the ambassadors and negotiate a flight to freedom. Meanwhile, the police contemplate the next move.
Calm down, Salim.
Yeah, we don't calm down.
Calm down.
We will kill one after 45
No, you won't,
minutes.
Salim.
29. Now the time is...
Salim, are you still there?
No, we will kill the other.
Look.
We are very sorry. We are very sorry.
When the meeting...
No. To send one of the at least one of the ambassadors here.
At 7:07, John Dello finally hands over control from the police to the SAS.
Wow.
The SAS get ready for the assault. To distract the gunmen whilst they move into position, the police play for time. They tell Salim that the government has given in, the Iraqi ambassador is on his way, and a coach is arriving to take them to the airport. The SAS have to move in before the gunmen kill again. They plan to assault the embassy from top to bottom through every available skylight and window.
We move closely up to the building. We get onto the back door, we get onto the roof. The ropes are attached and prepared. Everybody's just about ready to go. The next stage is for everybody to move on to their assault position.
There was this atmosphere that something was going to happen. I didn't know how, what or where, but something was going to happen.
Hello, Salim.
Hello, sir, this is Trevor.
Hello, Trevor.
He's told me, he's insisted that I come down and speak to you and tell you directly that if anything is done via attack, all hostages will be killed.
All we're trying to organise, Trevor, is the coach and the aircraft and the movement of the Iraqi ambassador.
Trevor was told to find out what was going on. There was an assault, something is going on, and which I was saying to Trevor, no, there isn't. Absolutely nothing going on as I watched the SAS come down on their ropes.
And I'm going to let you speak to the Iraqi ambassador, and I will get him to reassure you that nothing is going to happen.
First of all, we will see him.
Salim.
We are listening to some suspicion movement.
There is no suspicious movement.
There's suspicion. Okay.
Salim.
Just a minute, I'll come back again. I'm going to check.
I never forget those words, I'm going to check. And as he just, in the very millisecond that he dropped the phone onto the chair and started to walk towards me.
At 7:23, the SAS detonate a huge explosion to blow out the skylight on the embassy roof and throw the gunmen off their guard.
I ran as hard as I could towards him and managed to hit him with my shoulder in the hip and ran him back maybe 8 to 10 feet towards an office door, and I had it, and we were facing the door, and he was going nowhere.
Meanwhile, Mac and his mate Mel are heading towards the first floor room with an explosion.
Is that the charge? Oh man, this is
explosive charge to blow out the window.
Ever the brave soul, courageous Harris decides this is the time to get out. And I head towards the windows, which are very similar to the windows here. But they've got the shutters across, and there's a chink of light. And I pull the curtain apart, and there's what I thought was a policeman.
There was this thing behind the window. I don't know who I was at the time. It turned out to be old Sim Harris. A bit of a panic, I'd say. It was unlike I had this chicken, but that's to be accepted. But put the charge against the window. Mal was trying to get him to move back, was gesturing, and basically got away from the window. Couldn't worry about him being there. I mean, the thing is to get through there.
I thought, wow. And this guy says, get down, get down. And then it's just one almighty explosion.
The window had just disappeared. There was just shit everywhere, just smoke, dust, rubble. And we stepped through, and there was this thing moving, and it was old Sim, covered in dust, a few cuts, but nothing serious. He was alive,
And so it's like taking part in a Hollywood movie. Suddenly, there's some sort of invasion's happening.
The other lads come in. I think one of them actually picked him up. And he was sort of pushed, and told to go to the balcony,
And I think the last one just said to me, stay there, don't move, stay where you are. And off they went.
Robin is waiting at the back of the building and watches the assault team abseil down the ropes.
You can hear noise and commotion going on. And I looked up and there was Tom hanging from his rope, and he'd got his glove caught in his abseil equipment. The curtains have caught fire from one of the stun grenades that's gone in, and it's caught fire and the flames are starting to sweep up the window, and you could hear him screaming down the radio. And I looked up and I thought, well, there's absolutely nothing I could do. And I was thinking, if somebody doesn't cut him down, he's going to burn to death. And the guys on the roof are looking down over the edge at him, but as he pushes himself away from the flames, he's pushing himself beyond the balcony. So if they cut him at the wrong moment, he's actually going to go over the edge of the balcony and drop another 40 feet down onto solid concrete. So they're trying to cut the rope and release him as he's on the inswing, which they succeeded in doing and saving his life.
Trevor and Salim are still locked in their struggle when Trevor finally decides to draw his revolver.
I pulled my gun out of the holster and I pointed it to his temple. I thought, I'm going to kill this bastard. He couldn't believe it. Mr. Trevor's got a gun. He was saying, please don't hurt me, Mr. Trevor. It wasn't me, it was the others. I told them what you were saying was true, but they wouldn't listen. They wanted to carry on. And I thought to myself, if I kill him, I would be killing him out of anger and hatred. And that's not the way I've been trained.
When the front window was blown in, Mac, Tom and 2 other team members entered the building. Their orders were to rescue any hostages on the first floor.
The drill was that the first pair in would clear that room and contain that room while we went through and cleared the next room. When we got to the door, we went through the normal drill, opened the door a little bit, threw the flashbang in, closed the door, flashbang goes off, and we follow it into the room as fast as you can possibly move.
Two of these, what I call green lemons, they were like the anti-personnel grenades they used to carry, came rolling in. And these were the things that dominated and frightened the life out of me all the time I was in there. I thought, good God. I can see Salim going for his gun. And whilst I'm trying to stop him getting his gun, I hear the door fly open.
I see Trevor and the terrorists, both armed, wrestling with each other.
I hear, Trevor, get away! And I let go of him and I rolled over to look at the door from where the voice came from. And there he is standing there, this guy who knew me personally as Trevor. and I didn't know him from Adam. And he was dressed in black overalls, mask, had a futuristic-looking gun, a balaclava, and as I rolled over, I immediately heard brrr. And I looked back, and there was Salim laying there, absolutely lifeless. And he had a line of bullet holes going at a diagonal across from his eye, across his chest.
I had an MP5 submachine gun and I shot. I fired several rounds in a small burst into him. I believe he would have been dead before he hit the floor.
That's nuts. That's. Oh man, what an operation, man! What an operation this is. Jesus.
I was in a bit of a state. I was getting stressed up. I couldn't breathe. And then he said, "Over there, Trevor, to the window." And I climbed over the desk towards a window and touched the window, and it just disintegrated. And then leant out. Took my hat off and took the biggest lungful of fresh air that I could get hold of.
Salim is dead, but there are still 5 other gunmen to be accounted for. Mac makes for a room on the first floor at the back of the building where he thinks one of them is hiding.
Put a smoke grenade in, flashbang, you know, bang, 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 lots of smoke. We go in, can't find him. But we know he's in there. Up to the door, right, ready, go. In again. So you've got like the room, torches come across, and both the torches hit the guy at the same time. He's lying there, and that was it. It just... And it's bang, bang. Couple of rounds, job done.
Do you feel anything as you shoot him?
No, nothing. It's nothing at all. You know, I mean, it's not been hard. It's just, it's part of the job. You've got to shoot. You can't take the chance, and you know, you can't walk up and say, "Excuse me, Mister, whatever your name is. Would you mind giving us a weapon?" So, you've got to shoot him.
2 gunmen are now dead, 4 still at large. Those outside listen in stunned silence to the mayhem within.
We just sat there and listened to the noise and believed that a wholesale massacre was going on. I couldn't believe what I was seeing and hearing. Stunned. And drained, to be blunt. Totally drained.
And your feelings?
Failure. Failure mostly. I'd failed because the SAS had gone in. Horror because of what I was hearing. But mostly failure. And a great deal of emotion. It's coming back now.
On the second floor, in the telex room, a group of Iranian hostages has been fired on by 2 of Salim's gunmen. Ali Samazdazeh, an embassy official, is killed instantly. 6 bullets bite into Ahmed Dadgar. Amazingly, he remains conscious. Dadgar says the hostages then persuade the gunmen to surrender. Weapons are seen being thrown from the window, and a white flag appears. Then the SAS enter the room and carry out the most controversial killings of Operation Nimrod.
Were the gunmen who were shot by the SAS armed?
I don't really know that, whether they have gun in their own pockets or nothing, but whatever they had in their hands, they throw on the floor.
So did the gunmen surrender?
Yes, because both of them were sitting there and put their hands on their own heads. Yes. At the same time, the door opened, and then several SAS men came in. And then they took the 2 terrorists and pushed on the wall and shook them.
Hey, look, your job is not to take hostages. Your job is to eliminate the threat, eliminate the target. Your standing order is no hostages. I'm just saying, they had a chance to surrender before. They didn't take it. That's how you do it. You eliminate targets. You eliminate threats. You know, they knew what they were doing. They didn't know what the hell they were doing, pretty much. But they effed around and found out.
That's it. Because they wanted to finish their story. They were going to finish their story, to kill it.
Dadgar's account is confirmed by 2 other Iranian hostages we've spoken to. They were eyewitnesses in the telex room at the time. The inquest into the killings later found the soldiers had used reasonable force. The coroner delivered a verdict of justifiable homicide.
Yeah, you gotta support the people. You gotta support the SAS.
With mayhem inside and the embassy now burning, Sim Harris is still left crouching on the balcony.
I could hear behind me, you know, bullets, gunshots and grenades going off and all sorts of things. And from above, debris was beginning to drop. I went to stand up and somebody screamed at me, "Get down, stay flat, stay flat." So, you know, I'm shouting, I'm going to burn to death.
I mean, if you stayed where he was, he wouldn't even get touched with flames, really, you know. But panic, I suppose, set in. So it was bring him back over to the other balcony to bring him back into the room, because he wouldn't come through the flames. I mean, because all the curtains were all falling down, there was shit coming off the ceilings that was starting to burn. I mean, it was hot, because, I mean, my boots were actually melting. No, I burnt all the soles of my boots.
I was prepared to jump. I thought, it's one floor, as long as I can avoid those spikes on the railings, I'll jump. And I kept wanting to go and to stand up. And they kept shouting to me to stay down, and then they actually threatened to shoot me if I stood up anymore.
To shoot you?
Yeah. I presume it was to persuade me to stay down. And then they said, look to your left, look to your left. And I turned round and there was a guy in all the gas mask and all that sort of thing, and gloves, and he was beckoning me over.
And I leaned out and I'm going, come on, come over, you know. And eventually he got enough his courage up and I just reached over and brought him in.
So I then did what is now lovingly called my balcony scene of leaping over and back into the embassy. And I thought, this is madness. They're taking me back in again. What the hell's going on?
We brought him in. That's when he was sort of, come down, you're all right, you know. Held him, and then he was passed down the chain, you know. It was just a calm. I mean, he was shitting himself, you know.
By this time, they were getting the hostages out. And I tell you, when the SAS gets hostages out, they don't mess about. They were getting hold of us and just throwing us down the stairs.
Hand to hand, boom, 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 down they come. Into our hands, whap, 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 out the door, out the door, out the door. And now there's smoke, now there's fire as well. So we want these people out quickly, because now we've got the threat of fire as well. And we want to get ourselves out as quickly as possible.
As I grabbed the fellow and pushed them past me, remembering that we were all wearing respirators and we couldn't identify each other, but the hostages we could see and identify. As he went past, I knew that I had seen him, and I couldn't, for a second or so, remember where I'd seen him from. But as I let him go and he was passed on down the line, I remember from the photos, and people behind me started shouting, "That's a terrorist, that's a terrorist."
Up on the stairs there was a voice that shouted, "He's a terrorist, he's a terrorist." And we saw somebody stumble down the stairs. And nobody could actually open fire, because if the guys on the stairs had opened fire, the bullets could have gone through the person and hit somebody behind. If we'd opened fire, the same situation. If we'd hit the terrorists where we were, the bullets could have ricocheted into our own men.
And then somebody shouts, "Grenade." And he had a fucking grenade in his hand.
So as he came clear at the bottom of the stairs, there was me and 2 other guys standing there. And as he came clear, we all fired a burst each, and the guy had 27 holes in him. That was it. There was no drama. His body just went... That was it. He was on the floor, dead.
All right. That's the grenade guy. There he is.
Did you shout a warning?
No. No, we shot him. He had a hand grenade, we shot him. That was it. End of story. No reason to give him a warning. He might have had time to pull the pin out and throw the hand grenade in that time.
Had you killed a man before?
Yes. It was a job well done. There was no emotion at all. It was one of the simplest experiences up to that point in my life.
The actual assault takes 11 deadly minutes and leaves the embassy an inferno.
There's gas, there's confusion, and across in the far distance, staggering towards the front door, I could see Trevor Locke, and I ran across and grabbed him and pulled him towards the door. That was great. That felt brilliant, because we knew from that point in time that our #1 priority had been achieved. Trevor Locke was out of the building and he was alive.
The hostages are bundled out of the back and manacled face down on the ground. But there's one hostage too many.
The routine is that everybody gets handcuffed, whether they're hostages, whether they're terrorists, everybody gets handcuffed. You've got control of them. They're not running around like chickens with their heads cut off. You've got them where you want them. And you've got Sim Harris on the floor lifting his head up and shouting across, "That guy's a terrorist, that guy's a terrorist."
They said to me, "Is he a terrorist? Are you sure he's one of the terrorists?" I said, "Yes, I am positive he's one of the terrorists." And they lifted him and he went off behind me somewhere.
One of my team actually goes across and picks this guy up to separate him from the group and starts to walk back towards the building with him. So myself and the other team member, we went across and said, I think we should put him down here, because we weren't quite sure where he was taking him.
You say you weren't quite sure where he was taking him?
We weren't quite sure whether he was going to take him back in the building or if he had any other ideas. So we just made sure that the procedures were followed correctly.
And those other ideas might have been?
Some people would have expected him to be taken away and killed, but that would have been totally against policy, totally against the rules. And we had hundreds of policemen, and we had people with cameras, and we had the world's media on us. It would have been a very foolish thing for somebody to make that sort of mistake.
The operation is a spectacular success. All but one of the remaining hostages come out alive. The SAS withdraw to Regent's Park Barracks for a debrief and a beer.
This loaded beers turned up. Everybody in this room, have a few beers, and there's television set up, and there's tins of beers, everybody sort of, quick swig, as you do. It was milling around, and then Maggie just appeared. Maggie, her hubby, and one of the other bosses, the Colonel, and a few other odds and sods, as normal, no hangers on, like.
Suddenly, we go into the big, I suppose it's a sort of sitting room with a huge television set, and about 40 SAS, and with an incredible atmosphere. They all seem to be rather small men. Most of them appear to have slightly ginger hair and ginger moustaches and bottles of beer in their hand, and the state of excitement was something I've never seen in my life before. They were sort of like a pack of hounds, they just roared their welcome, and the air was thick with testosterone. It was an incredible atmosphere.
Both her and her husband were very, very casual, and he was very, very much on our side, and he was quite upset that one of the terrorists had got out, I think, because he told us in no uncertain terms that we had failed in some respects.
What did he say?
He had a big grin on his face, but his exact words were, "You let one of the bastards live."
That's the thing. That's the thing. While they're in the operation, there were to be no hostages, or no well, you know what I mean, no prisoners kind of thing. No one survives. Once they got out into the open, that was it. Like, hands off, like, the objective has been reached. There is one survivor. So I mean, and yeah, this is the goal of any unit that's out there at the very base level. You want to complete your job, complete your mission, come back and have just a beer to decompress with all of your teammates. That's the dream. That's the goal of every unit, every squad, that's out there. Is to get back from a successful mission, successful being that everyone came back from the mission. So there's no better feeling than what they're feeling right there. When you look around, you're like, yeah, everyone's accounted for.
Suddenly, it was going through the start of it on the telly. It was like a news flash thing, you know.
You see you?
Ah, yeah, I see me.
30 seconds, 45 seconds later, a second explosion.
Of course, I'm trying to watch this. I mean, well, to me, it's not a funny thing. And there's this head right in front of me. You know, I'm a short arse, but there was this head right in front of me, and I said, for fuck's sake, you know, I didn't know whose head it was. It was Maggie. You know, I said, move your fucking head. I did. I actually swore, you know. And she, I'm sorry, and she just moved. You know, didn't bat an eyelid. She just moved her head, you know, and she was actually sitting watching it as well, you know.
Was, I believe, a brilliant operation by the Special Air Services with courage and confidence. And I agree with my honourable friend that the performance both of the police and the SAS made us all, on all sides of the house, proud to be British.
The message to terrorists was, if you come to our country and you kill people, you're not going to go home again.
The siege made the reputations of Mrs. Thatcher and the SAS, but not everyone rejoiced.
The public at large saw that as a triumphant moment and something to be celebrated. I found it despairing. You know, some pride, if you like, with a very small p, that Britain was still capable of producing people who were this well trained and could execute something as brilliantly as this. But dejection, I thought, is just, you know, this is not civilized behavior. This is not civilized behavior. I can understand why it's happened, but I can't support it emotionally.
Salim and his comrades were assured they'd return to Iraq in triumph. Today they lie buried in East London. The only survivor, Fauzi Najad, was sentenced to life imprisonment. 22 years later, he's still behind bars in a British jail.
I feel very sorry for the deaths. I feel responsible for some of it. And I would have wished it hadn't happened. For me, it represents failure, because I and my colleagues on the outside worked day and night to try and avoid all that spectacular rescue.
Did you feel anything for the 5 dead gunmen?
Not a bit. Not a bit. You know, not a bit. They went into it, you know, with their eyes open.
Not recently, but certainly in past years, I would have, you know, dreams in Technicolor about overpowering them all and, you know, herding them out of the embassy and saving the day. You know, that's my little secret dream. Didn't happen.
Did you feel a coward?
Yes. And I wrote, quite quickly afterwards, You know, that now I know I'm a coward, and at least I know I'm a coward. And I feel good about that. I feel good about knowing it, because I think people want to be tested, you know, during their lives. And I was tested, and I failed that particular test. But I passed many other tests, self-preservation being a very good one.
It haunts you, stays with you all the time. But you have to be strong enough, capable to live with it, get used to it, and don't allow it to stop you from living normally. It is always there, all the time.
I'm glad I was there, put it that way. Because I think we did a good job that day. You know, we achieved the aim. A lot of people came out of it alive.
You appreciate the sweet things in life. The birds in the trees, the smell of mown grass, that sort of stuff. Because let's face it, all of us in that building were near to the chance of never seeing it again. And it's not until you've been given a second chance that you realise what you could have missed out on. And you appreciate it all the more. You're only here once. And it's best to make the best of it.
Well, my God. Well, Jesus. That was awesome. Yeah, I'm glad we checked that out. Guys, there's a lot of videos on this channel that are like not a lot. I don't think we've gotten to a numerous amount, but like these animated histories that do have like documentary type videos behind them. But they are long form content. So if you would like that, please let me know, because what I do is I pick these brief histories out, and they're usually animated, but it gets the conversation rolling. And I don't mind doing this same thing. If you guys come out for it, I'm here for it. I want to learn at the end of the day. And I think this is great. And I told you guys from the moment we dropped the animated version of this, that I would get to the real footage. And I'm glad we did that. It was a brief documentary. But yes, I know a lot of you guys said we should check out 6 days. And I think that if I'm going to do a movie reaction, I'm not going to bother editing anything. There's 2 movies so far that I want to get to. All of those movie reactions are going to be on Rumble, because I'm not even trying to edit movie reactions. I don't want to get into that, but they're going to go up on Rumble eventually. Okay, so do yourself a favor. Find your way over to Rumble. I don't know. You might be watching this on Rumble. I don't know if YouTube will let this up. It'll probably be, guys, this channel. I kind of knew that this channel would tiptoe the YouTube TOS, you know, but this channel is probably gonna get demonetized with the type of content we're checking out, and the current climate of YouTube. So yeah, any chance you get, check out the Rumble links. All right, guys, you are all legends. Make sure you unplug, do something legendary. Live your best life. Live your best life. That's all I ask. And I will see you all in the next video. Later, guys.